Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and it's spoiler season and you know what that means. Videos all the time covering all the latest spoilers. So pumped, let's do this. Our first spoiler is also a game day promo. Hall of Triumph is a 3-mana legendary artifact that gives +1/+1 to creatures you control of a chosen color. It's reminiscent of Honor of the Pure or just half of the functionality of Caged Sun. I'd like to think that this could fit into some type of aggressive white strategy in Standard, but on turn 3 you want to be dropping one of your biggest creatures, not something like this. Not to mention that in that white deck, Spear of Heliod is just better. Maybe we'll see it, but I'm not too sure. What I will say is that Commander players get another staple. Enjoy. Next up we have a new mechanic. Ajani's Presence is 1 white mana for an instant with Strive. Ajani's Presence costs 3 more to cast for each target beyond the first. Any number of target creatures each get +1/+1 and gain Indestructible. Strive is so reminiscent of Multi-Kicker to me. In a block where triggering Heroic is something people care a lot about, Strive is perfectly placed. While this card in particular may be a bit expensive to Strive, giving +1/+1 and Indestructible is a fine combat trick in Limited. The mechanic is awesome and I'm excited to see it utilized further. This is one of the most interesting cards released last night. Dacra Mystic is 1 blue for a 1/1 Merfolk Wizard. You can pay 1 blue and tap to have each player reveal the top card of their library. You either put the revealed cards into each owner's graveyard or into their hands. This card is cool. You're technically giving your opponent card advantage, but when you're getting it too, it's an even playing field. Not to mention, you see what you're giving them so you can skew the balance in your favor. A deck that would use a card like this knows it'll be giving its opponent cards and it'll be ready for it. This is either going to see some really clever play or pretty much nothing at all. Basically what I'm saying is the skill cap for this card is really high. Now for my absolute favorite card release so far, Sigil Starfish. 2 mana for a 0/3 that taps to scry 1. Perfect for a control player. Great blocker, lets you manipulate your library, adorable, it's pretty much the best thing ever. Seriously though, great for Limited. While this is no Seagate Oracle, it still lets you scry every turn. You could potentially go through twice as many cards per turn. I'm not saying it's a huge bomb or anything like that, but it is better than a lot of people will give it credit for. Time for another new mechanic. Whitewater Naiads is 5 mana for a 4/4 enchantment creature nymph with Constellation. Whenever the Naiads or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, target creature can't block this turn. Constellation is so synergistic with this block. The potential for Bestow-driven heroic decks to abuse this trigger is massive. While Naiads isn't the most powerful card, a 5 mana 4/4 is just fine and Limited. Plus Constellation's pretty cool. This next card might have the most awesome art in the set. Extinguish All Hope, sweet name, is a 4 colorless 2 black mana sorcery. Destroy all non-enchantment creatures. I don't care that it's a pseudo board wipe at sorcery speed. I don't care that it costs 6 mana. It's called Extinguish All Hope, and it has Phoenix, Erebos, and Pharika on it. I mean, look at that art. In news that matters, this might see some Limited play, although I wouldn't draft it first or anything. Commander players, you guys like board sweeps, right? Next we have our first new Bestow creature, Gnarled Scarhide. 1 black mana gets you a 2/1 with Bestow for 4 that can't block. What's up, new, cheaper, no landfall trigger, not vampire bloodghast? 1, he's a Minotaur. That's awesome. 2, he'll never get bestowed. He's a 2/1 for 1. You play him on turn 1 and swing until he dies. 2/1s for 1 are always dangerous. Sure, he can't block, and once he dies, he's gone, but who cares? This is so aggressive, especially for tribal Minotaurs. I'm drafting this card for days. I'd like it to see Standard play, but I can't say anything for sure until we know what the rest of the set will bring. Moving on to red cards, we meet the adorable Cyclops of Eternal Fury. Seems upset. He's 6 mana for a 5/3 and creatures you control have haste. He dies to Eye Gouge. We good? Satyr Hoplite is 1 red mana for a 1/1 with Heroic. Whenever you target him with a spell, put a 1/1 counter on him. This is the most straightforward card with a triggered ability ever. Fine for Limited, might see some red-white heroic play, but I doubt it. It just doesn't do enough fast enough. Unfortunate. Remember when we were talking about better uses for Constellation? Well, Eidolon of Blossoms is pretty cool. 2 colorless and 2 green gets you a 2/2 spirit. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Yes, it's a bit expensive and can't protect itself, I get that. But it has a draw engine, and Mana Bloom is still in Standard. You forgot about that, didn't you? That's a nutty synergy. There are a ton of people playing enchantment-based strategies through pretty much all formats. They'll love this card. It's also pretty dumb in Commander, but even besides that, I like this. Granted, it won't break Standard, I don't think, but hey, we all have dreams, right? Go Mana Bloom! Because there always have to be Hydras in every set, I present to you Hero's Bane. 5 mana for a 0/0 Hydra that comes into play with 4+1/+1 counters on it. You can pay 4 mana to put +1/+1 counters on it equal to its power. At this point, whenever I see a Hydra, it has to be compared to Colonian Hydra. Unfortunately, this guy falls a bit short. Not having trample is a pretty big setback in my mind. Granted, he'll be fine in limited and is a decent intro pack rare. I'm not so sure I can see someone running 4 Colonian Hydra and this guy. Bummer. Next we have Ravenous Lucrosida. These names. It's a 4 mana 2/4 beast. Personally, I think with a mouth like that, his power should be higher. Anyways, he has Vigilance and Monstrosity 3 for 7 mana. After a brief reprieve, Monstrosity takes back its place from Tribute. A lot of people responded negatively to Tribute in Born of the Gods, so this is a pretty convenient change. The card's fine for limited. 4 mana 2/4 with an ability. Automatically better than Greatheart. Second, late game in limited can last a while. Having a 2/4 Vigilance become a 5/7 Vigilance could swing the scales in your favor. Not great, but not awful. The last card we're going to look at is our first god. Iroas, God of Victory, is 2 colorless, 1 red, and 1 white for a 7/4 indestructible legendary enchantment creature god with the same devotion mechanic we've come to know. Creatures you control can be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. At first glance, this guy is bonkers. His abilities are hilarious and powers up aggro decks in a big way. However, let's take a step back for a second. Yes, he's absolutely the nuts for aggressive decks, there's no doubt about that. But what scares me is how the meta has shaped up to this point. You have Supreme Verdict running rampant and Mono Black Devotion with more removal than you can shake a stick at. Don't get me wrong, I think Iroas is pretty sweet, he just needs more support in the rest of the set to break away from the anti-creature situation we have going on. Remember, he makes creatures amazing, but he can't keep them from getting destroyed. I don't think Boros Charm can do the work alone. Let's hope for some more support. Other than that though, he's pretty great. Having 2 abilities makes me happy. What did you guys think of this first day of spoilers for Journey into Nyx? It's about what I expected. They released some simple cards with new mechanics and a few interesting abilities to think about. Personally, I'm interested to see if anyone will try to play Dacra Mystic. Remember, we will be releasing spoiler videos every day, so subscribe below for the latest and most reliable Journey into Nyx spoiler information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source, I'm Wedge, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.